Good morning. Excited to be here at my first SEC Media Day. I think it's fitting that we are here in Dallas, given the recent expansion in this conference and what this city means to this state from a recruiting foothold standpoint, now kind of squarely located within the SEC footprint. So it's great to be here, home of current NFL stars, Myles Garrett, Von Miller, and Justin Madubuike, who all played their high school football in and around the DFW area. So it's always great to be back here. Like many before me, I want to start by offering my condolences to Coach Lane Kiffin and his family on the passing of his father. Coach Monty Kiffin was a legendary defensive coordinator. I was a young defensive coach when Coach Kiffin was establishing the Tampa 2 system down with the Bucks. He quickly became a defense that everyone was trying to emulate. I never personally crossed paths with him, but from afar, he set the standard of what defensive football should look like. Many of us over the years have tried to emulate it, majority of us unsuccessfully. That's probably why Lane is coaching on offense, but our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family through this difficult time. Next, I want to recognize a couple of people at Texas A&M. For starters, I want to give another congratulations to cornerback Kevin Smith, a former student at Texas A&M. Kevin was an All-American football player at cornerback for the Aggies. He went on to be a first-round draft pick of the Dallas Cowboys, where he was a 3-time Super Bowl champion here in Dallas. As Commissioner Sankey mentioned in his opening statements, Kevin will be inducted into the National Football Foundation College Hall of Fame this December, and so really excited to see him recognized for all of his accomplishments. At Texas A&M, we are blessed with tremendous leadership throughout our university and our athletic department. I want to acknowledge Chancellor John Sharp for his tremendous service to our university. He will be retiring in June after 13 years, and we sincerely appreciate all that he has done to make Texas A&M University a better place. I want to thank our president, General Mark Welsh, and our athletic director, Trev Alberts. The current alignment at our university, from president to athletic director to head football coach, has never been stronger. I'm blessed to be able to collaborate with such innovative thinkers as we navigate this new time in college football. I also want to mention the 3 players that are here with me representing Texas A&M today. It's really a unique situation for me coming back after spending 4 years. I have long-standing relationships with all 3 of the people that are here this weekend, even though it's my first year as the head football coach. I want to start with our 2 captains, junior offensive lineman Trey Zune from Fort Collins, Colorado. Trey grew up with strong Aggie ties. Trey's mom and dad, his grandma and his grandpa, and some of his aunts are all Aggies. Trey is a finance major who will graduate this December with a 3.0 GPA. Trey started 13 games last year and has made 24 starts so far in his career at left tackle. An outstanding leader in our locker room, Trey has been successful both on and off the field at Texas A&M. I was here as the defensive coordinator when he started his career, and it's great to be back to watch him finish out his time in Aggieland. Our other captain is our sophomore linebacker, Torian York from Temple High School in Temple, Texas. Torian and I go back a really long way. I started recruiting him when I was the defensive coordinator at Texas A&M when he was a young prospect. When I transitioned over to Duke, he quickly became a priority for us on our recruiting board at Duke. After about 8 months of recruiting him to Duke, we finally convinced him, I thought, to come join us out in Durham. And at the last minute, he received an scholarship offer from Texas A&M and decided to stay in-state and go there. Torian graduated top 10 in his class, not top 10%, top 10, with a 4.0 GPA, and is currently a sports management major who aspires to coach one day. I think now's the time to probably give him a formal offer because he's going to be a tremendous leader in this industry. Last year, he started every game for the Aggies at middle linebacker. He earned both freshman All-American and freshman All-SEC honors. It's great to finally get a chance to coach him, and I'm excited to see where his future goes. Our 3rd representative is junior defensive lineman Shamar Turner. I've probably known Shamar longer than any other player on our roster. A graduate of nearby DeSoto High School. I started recruiting Shamar back in 2019. To see his growth both on and off the field has truly been extraordinary. Shamar decided to return for his senior season, and he will graduate this fall with a degree in leadership. Shamar played in 8 games for us as a true freshman during my last season at Texas A&M as defensive coordinator, and he was selected to the 2021 All-SEC freshman team. Since then, he has gone on to start 24 games for the Aggies, and he was a second-team All-SEC player for us last year, and so he's poised to have a huge senior season. Last and certainly not least, I want to thank Commissioner Sankey for the leadership that he provides within the conference. Under his leadership, the SEC has clearly established itself as the premier conference in the country, not only in football, but across a lot of our sports platforms. In this ever-changing landscape of college athletics, leadership is critical, and we are fortunate to have a great one leading our conference. Many have spoken about the changing times of modern college athletics, and we are part of a new era for sure. The landscape in and around our sport, in and around college athletics is changing constantly. Like many of my colleagues, there are certainly parts of this new era that have been challenging and frustrating to navigate. But I also think it's important today to recognize that it is also a challenging time for our student athletes. While it is true that players today receive significantly more perks for playing college football than ever before, we cannot lose sight of the fact that they are still 18 to 21-year-olds, and they are still very much in the developmental stage of their lives. Mental health issues that are an all-time high across the landscape of college football, the internal and external pressures that come along with this new model can be a lot for a young man to cope with. I think it's important now more than ever for us to remember that although the landscape has changed and some of the rules has changed, the overall mission is not. We are still in the business of developing young people. We are still in the business of developing them to become better people both on and off the field. Developing our players on the field to chase their NFL dreams is obviously critical to our success at Texas A&M, and we are fortunate to have the resources and facilities to do that. But it's also important that we continue to enhance them off the field so that they are well prepared for what comes beyond the game. We want to take pride in pouring as many resources into that area of our program as we do the football, so that when our players leave our program, they are ready for whatever comes their way in life. It's an exciting time at Texas A&M. As we stand here 2 weeks from training camp, like many others, it's an exciting time to get ready to get back on the field. At my opening press conference, I stated that it was time for our program to stop talking about what we are capable of, to roll up our sleeves, go to work, and start to fulfill our potential. In the last 7 months, that is exactly what we have done. I'm proud of how quiet our offseason has been. I'm proud of how quickly our players have adapted to a new culture and a new way of attacking football. We have introduced 41 new scholarship football players into our program. Just under 50% of our roster has turned over. But it's been awesome to watch them intentionally go out of their way to come together, to bond, and to be ready to put together a tremendous product for Aggie fans to be proud of this fall. Make no mistake, there's still a lot of work to be done for us to truly become the best version of ourselves, but we are meeting that challenge head on, and I am excited about our progress. There has never been a better time to be a Texas A&M Aggie. We are excited to get started. Thanks, and gig 'em, and I'll open it up for questions from there.
Thank you, Coach Elko. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. Please state your name and affiliation. Daniel, Nolan, and KD will get a microphone to you. Daniel, we'll go right here in the center section. Coach, right here in the center section in front of my table.
Randall Sweet, Sooners on SI. Obviously, you guys have already had to recruit against Oklahoma and Texas, but with those two schools now joining the SEC, how does that change that dynamic, and does it make it any more difficult for you?
No, I don't think so. I think obviously there have been recruiting wars in this state between those three schools that have probably started before I was born, and certainly continued in my time here as the defensive coordinator, and I'm sure will continue into the foreseeable future. And so, those three brands hold a lot of weight in this state. There's no doubt about it. I think obviously that's the group that you're consistently recruiting against, and the people that win those battles more frequently are going to be the teams that have the most success.
Coach, we'll go straight in front of us in the second row.
Hey, good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Cody Clearman on Texas football. In the past, the glaring advantage that A&M had over in-state rival Texas in recruiting was that you were all in the SEC. But with that now gone, do you see it becoming more like in the history of recruiting, being some kids are Longhorn kids and some are Aggie kids? Why or why not? Would you disagree or agree with that?
I don't know. I think Each kid's got to go through their process and kind of figure out what the right fit for them is. I don't know that a league gives you necessarily that leg up. I think we've got to build a program that people want to be part of, and I think it's no secret that recruiting in the state of Texas is extremely competitive. I think it's not only us in Texas. I think it's also a lot of other programs now coming in here. You see that in this cycle that we've got to fend off. And I think our focus isn't just on one school. I think our focus is on going out and identifying the kids that we think can help us win a national championship and trying to get them to Kyle Field and Texas A&M. And I don't think that is a one-on-one situation anymore. I think this has changed a lot, and I think there's a lot more schools involved in that now.
Sure, we'll stay in the same section, but towards the back. Robert.
Robert Cessna, the Bryan College Station Eagle. Mike, you often hear coaches reflect back on the problems they were able to overcome in year 1, year 2, and maybe even year 3 in building a program. Is there any way you can speed that process up in year 1, and do you already feel you're maybe ahead of the curve?
I think in this era of college football, you better speed that process up. I don't think this is a very patient era. I don't think you come to a school like Texas A&M that has the ability to do what we're capable of doing, and you want to talk about building for a future, but I think you got to be careful that you don't skip steps along the way. I think you've got to establish a culture. You got to establish identity. You got to establish a way that you want to play football. And, I'm excited because I think our kids have embraced that. I think they've bought into what we want to be about. They've embraced the direction we want to go. And I'm really, really happy with the progress we've made in my first 7 months on the job. And now we've got to go finish that and be successful this fall.
Coach, we'll go over here on my side, right in front of my table on this near aisle.
Hey, Mike. Alex Miller with the Bryan College Station Eagle. Little off-the-wall question. Are you guys using artificial intelligence at all within your program, whether data analytics, health-related things, et cetera?
No, not yet. I think some of those conversations have started off the record with roles in which AI can be utilized. Right now, I think we're still in the using our analysts, using our data reports, and kind of coming up with our own style of analytics. But I think that is certainly something that has started to get on the periphery of conversation, and I think maybe in the 3, 4, 5 years to come, I think you might start seeing that kind of move forward into this game a little bit more.
Okay, we'll stay in the center section, about 4 rows back. Kirk.
Thank you. Hi, Mike. Kirk Bowles from the Houston Chronicle. On the Texas A&M rivalry, what's been the biggest rivalry you've been a part of? I don't know if it's something back in South Brunswick, New Jersey, or in college football. And have you envisioned what November 30th atmosphere is going to be like?
Yeah, it would be hard to equate something that happened in South Brunswick, New Jersey to this rivalry. I mean, obviously, the Duke-Carolina rivalry is a fairly big one, and being part of that the last 2 years, I think certainly gives you a taste of what it's like. I think now, I was here for 4 years, and we didn't play Texas at all, and it was very clear to me what our fans and our alumni thought of the university. Now that we're playing and we're in the same conference again, that's something that means an awful lot to Texas A&M people, and so it means a lot to our program.
Okay, Coach, we'll go to this front section to our right. All right, right in the front row.
David Nuno, TexAgs.com. Mike, where has the team made strides on the offensive line, an area of concern the last couple of years in protecting quarterbacks and whatnot?
Yeah, I think it started with, the work that we've put in the offseason with Coach Moffitt. I think we challenged those guys to get bigger, to get stronger, to get a little bit more flexible. I think we've stayed healthier. I think that's been a big piece of it. I think if you look back to the last couple years, we've gone into training camp with parts of that group limited and not able to practice maybe the way they wanted to, and that always hurts your ability to get the cohesion and being able to get to the level you want to get to. And I just think we have to be intentional about how we put those kids in position to be successful. It's not lost on anybody that our ability to keep our quarterback healthy is going to play a huge role in our ability to have success this year. And some of that is on the offensive line, but that's a program conversation. You know, what we're doing, what we're asking them to do, the decision making, the quarterbacks running, the system, how we call it, what we do. You know, it's across the board. We've got to take some stress off of that group too, and allow them to go out there and have some success.
Hey, Coach, we'll go over in the section in front of me again.
Hi, Coach. Travis Brown, KBTX.com. You lost some key veteran production at wide receiver last year. In a perfect world, do you see one guy separating himself to try to replace some of that production, or do you feel like you have a group that can kind of come together and replace some of that together?
Yeah, I think if you look at the best offenses in this conference, it's usually not one guy. It's usually a handful of players that can threaten a defense based on matchup, based on coverage leverage, based on who they're trying to take away. And so I think it's critical for all of our wide receivers to take the next step this offseason and come out this year and perform at a high level. I think we're excited about some of the guys that we do have returning. I think Noah Thomas has had a phenomenal offseason. I think Jade Walker has had a great offseason. We're really happy with what Muhsin Muhammad has done. Adding Cyrus Allen is going to be a huge addition for us. I think Josh Bostic is going to help us. And so, yeah, I think we've got the pieces in place. We've just got to go out there, and continue to develop that group so that they can kind of become what they're capable of becoming consistently. I think that's the biggest thing.
Which we'll go to the section to your immediate right, Olin.
Yeah, Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com. Mike, can you talk about or tell us some of the thoughts that went into the move of Shamar Turner going from playing a lot outside on the defensive end to playing primarily inside?
Yeah, I think a big piece of that was, I think that was the intention when we recruited him. We felt like that was probably his best position moving forward to the next level. And I think, for whatever reason, that just kind of didn't go all the way over the last 2 years. And so I think that was a big piece in his decision to come back, was to be able to slide inside, to play defensive tackle, to showcase his ability to do that for the NFL and to kind of enhance his ability to get into that league and get in there and maybe a higher draft status. And so I think it's a natural progression for him. I think he's a big physical kid. He's got tremendous athleticism. He's a plus pass rusher. He's a tremendous run stopper. And so I think he's going to have a phenomenal year for us this year in there.
Which will go down the center aisle about halfway back.
Hey, Rob Brown, SEC Sideline Sports in Memphis. The last coach that left Duke in 1990 and came to the SEC was Steve Spurrier. Worked out pretty well. Can you talk about what you learned at Duke in your years there? And you won 9 games at Duke. That's like having a great hockey team in the Everglades. That's tough to do. Most people never think it can happen. How much has that prepared you for life coming back to A&M and then bringing Texas in to compete with? You got to love the competition, I would think.
Yeah, I think, have said this to a lot of people in the last 2 years. When you're an assistant coach, you think you know everything it takes to become a head coach, but until you actually go sit in that chair, you have no idea. You have no idea how much of the program you had no idea was being handled by the head coach. And so I think anytime you get in that chair, you grow. I'm extremely thankful to all of the people at Duke. Athletic Director Nina King gave me my opportunity to be a head football coach, and so I'm grateful for her and everything that she did for me there. I think we had tremendous football players in that program, maybe more so than people wanted to give us credit for, and so a lot of that was development, but a lot of that was thanks to David Cutcliffe and the job he did before we got there. But I think being in that chair is the only way to prepare to be in that chair. And certainly now coming back into this conference, the premier conference in the country, that got even stronger this year, certainly that experience is something you want to lean on as you try to build this program to become what we want to be at Texas A&M.
Which will go right down here in front to your right.
John Arona, Texas Sports Network. You were in Aggieland before, you left, and you're back. What are you looking forward to most about the culture of Aggieland?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is being able to actually come out of this tunnel onto the field on game day. I think one of the things that people don't know is I spent all of my time in the press box, and so I've never actually gotten to experience Kyle Field from field level. And so, certainly saw some memorable moments, the 7 overtime win over LSU, the upset of Alabama. I think to see those from above was amazing. I can't imagine what that atmosphere actually feels like at ground level. And so I'm excited to lead our team down the tunnel for the first time against Notre Dame and hear Aggie land erupt live and in person. I think that's going to be a really special feeling.
Coach, we'll go all the way back in the section straight in front of my podium, all the way back on the aisle.
Coach, Luke White with the Battalion. You opened the season with Notre Dame. Do you like opening the season with an opponent of that caliber when it comes to preparing your team for what to expect the rest of the year?
Yeah, I'm a football coach. I'd like to play no teams of that caliber, but I guess we have to. No, no, I think it goes both ways. I think the benefit of having a game like that in the opener is you have everyone's attention. I think our program is very much aware that we have to be firing on all cylinders the first time we run out of the tunnel. I think that's created urgency in our program that goes all the way back to January. I think when it got announced that College Game Day was coming to town, that even lit the fire even more. And so I think, you know, when you get into those dog days of training camp where kids start to drag and get tired, it's really easy to flash up there a logo of a big opener and get their attention back really quick. And so from that perspective, it's really good. You know, sometimes you would like maybe a game to get the rust off, you know, but it's going to be a level playing field for both of us. And so, you know, we'll go out there and put our best foot forward.
Coach, we'll go in the section right in front of you, about midway back.
Sean J. Roger from CBS Sports. How are you doing, Coach?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. You mentioned it a little bit in your opening statement, but Texas A&M is a place that at times has been very loud, and this offseason you've chosen to be very quiet. What's gone into that?
I just think you earn the right to have success in the game of football. I think that's a recipe that has stood the test of time, and that's what the offseason is about. The offseason is about being in places where nobody's watching, where no one's following you on Instagram, where nobody's posting about what you're doing, and getting up every day and going to work to become better so that you have a chance to have the success that you want to have in the fall. And so I don't know that I intentionally changed our thought process at Texas A&M. I think that's how I believe programs should be. I think when it's not football time, we should be working, and that's what gets you ultimately the results you want to have in the fall. And so I'm just proud that we've been able to do that so quickly in College Station.
Coach, we'll go over to our right on the aisle.
Hey, Coach. Steve Moulton, WZZN out of Huntsville, Alabama. You mentioned Tommy Moffitt earlier. So in this 7-month period, I was wondering what he has brought to your program and the relationship that you had with Tommy maybe before to hire him with the Aggies.
Yeah, so it was interesting. You know, obviously the strength, you know, everyone always asks about offensive coordinator. I'm a defensive-minded head coach, and so you get hired and everyone wants to talk about who's the OC. But, you know, in truth, sometimes the most important hire you make is your strength and conditioning coach, because that guy spends so much time with your team. That guy establishes your toughness level. That guy establishes your culture. He establishes your discipline level. And so we took a lot of time to kind of research and make that hire. I had never met Coach Moffitt in my career. We had one of his assistants on our staff at Duke, and so I knew of him. When I dug into him and really started interviewing and talking to him, I was blown away by how modern he was. You know, when you have a guy who's had as much success as he has and has a resume as long as he does, 3 national championships for 3 different head coaches, you anticipate maybe there being a little bit of an old school thought process, and it was the exact opposite. He's extremely well read, he's modern, he's into sports science at the highest level, he's into training our kids at maximum efficiency, and those were the things that were really important to me. And so when I identified that here was a guy that had the amount of success that he had, but had kind of modified his program over the years to change with the times, it was a no-brainer for me to try to bring him into College Station.
Okay, we'll go to the back of this section, all the way to the back, section to the right.
Hey, Mike. Carter Carls, Geekum 247. There seems to be a wide range of opinions with Connor Wigman. Some people are projecting him to be a first-round pick next year, Other people might rank him in the middle of the conference in terms of quarterbacks. What do you think he needs to do to hit that ceiling that people have of that first-round pick ceiling?
Yeah, I think he just needs to stay focused on the day-to-day of becoming a great quarterback. I think, obviously he was playing at a high level through 6 games. Unfortunately, he had the injury in the Auburn game. 2 as a true freshman, 4 last year. He got the injury in the Auburn game, and the rehab for that was long and tiresome. And now he's back, he's healthy, he's moving around the way he wants to. I just think he needs to take the next step, and it's his 3rd year of college football, but he's only played 6 games. And so he's got to pack experience into his brain that he's got to earn off the field. And so I think that's going to be critical for him as we move forward.
But we have time for one final question over to my left on the aisle.
I'm sorry, it was the Moffitt question. It already got answered.
Oh, good.
All right, I think any other questions? Got one up here. We'll get to Barry.
Yeah, Mike, Barry Trammell, Tulsa World, 12-team playoffs with us now. What does that do for schools other than Georgia and Alabama, which sort of have a pretty good road to it each year? What does that do for everybody else?
Yeah, I think spending 4 years in this conference, there were a lot of years where I felt like there were more teams deserving of being in the playoff. I felt like at times, certainly for us in 2020, I feel like this conference has clearly established itself to be the premier conference, and now what you have is more access. And so I think if you look at the College World Series as a model, more access has led to a lot more all-SEC semifinals, all-SEC championships. I believe you're going to see something very similar in the college football playoff. I think the more teams from this conference that get in and get to compete in meaningful games on a national scale, I think it'll only help us enhance our reputation as the premier league in the country.
Coach Elko, thank you for your time this morning.
Yep. Thank you, guys.